I don't imagine this one will be. And the truth is, ours is not either. We had some awful interesting time. But the business part that has to be done is like having to do your taxes at home. So
That's right.
well, if you want to do that, when should I shut up? Because I'm hard to quit once I start. Are y'all in a rush somewhere? Well, it'll just depend on how it goes. I mean, as long as you're interested in asking stuff. When Lita first asked me to do this, I asked her what about, and she mentioned well, she didn't refer to it, but I knew why she mentioned it. She talked about how to take a picture of a painting in order to put it on the internet for sales, like Fine Art America, and that's where Linda Rupert, do y'all know her? A lot of you know Linda. That's where she put hers, and I'm the one that made them for them earlier. I don't know how, she hadn't put any out, I don't think, in a while, so she learned how to do it by herself, but that there would be an interest in that, and I think in the process of talking about that, we can include some principles of photography and general art, and so I'll include that in what I'm doing. Alice asked me a while ago what's an f-stop, and we'll try to get that in, because he said that he wasn't going home until I told him. But I think the rest of you might want to know something about f-stops. If I can remember what about I use them all the time, but if I can remember how to tell you what they are. I would also like to show you some painting, the photos I've brought with me, because each one of them has some kind of special meaning as far as I'm concerned, and it might mean something to you. And I'll hold them up so everybody can see them. I'll have to bother Holly. You don't have to move, but I'll have to crowd you here a little bit.
Still with one.
No, you don't have to move. I'll move them around. But some of them that have been particularly meaningful. And I don't guess it matters where we start, but the one that I have sold the most of, and I don't know, 70 or 80 copies, I've given away another 20 or 30, but I've sold that many, is this picture right straight behind Hollis, but everybody can see it, right? All right. Anybody recognize where that is?
Big Spring.
The Big Spring. And of course, it looked like that in about 2002. Today, it doesn't look exactly like that. It's kind of brown and grass around there. But the picture just to the right of it, if you look real close, it's a slightly different angle, but it's the same place. And it was, see, I took it sometime during last year in late fall. But that's the Big Spring over there as well. And so for a month, ending a few days ago, these two were put on this easel so that they show in the Compass Bank over there, because we do what we call tipping of the brush, and you probably have a different name for it, where we have about 10 places where we show our pictures. Y'all do that, of course. And Compass Bank is one of the better places we have to show it. So I enjoyed having those out. Let me say this about it. The best pictures are probably going to be accidental. And this picture has all kinds of art principles in it. And maybe I would ask you if you see anything that looks right about it that you've learned about art. And you see anything there that looks right about it? Not as such, huh? All right. Well, I don't need it wasn't a test. You're not here for examination. For one thing, one of the principles is if you chop it up into a tic-tac-toe, you've got three-thirds of stop, 3/3, and it's called the rule of thirds, or it's also known as the Fibonacci series, or the
Golden mean.
Huh?
The golden mean.
The golden mean is called the golden mean. The Fibonacci is the part of the theme of that. The movie and the book that came out by Mr. Brown, what's his first name, and the Da Vinci Code. It's dealt with at length in that. Well, what it basically amounts to, if you can get some kind of interest in over to the right or the left, at the top or the bottom, somewhere away from the center, but in the thirds, that really stands out, it will be pleasing to the eye. Look how that tree on the right is just dominant back over there. You don't see much with shadow, but it's there. And then look at the top, how if the top third is that branch and the right side is that third. Well, you get over here and down to the left, there's some greenery there that kind of lights up that little square of the 9. Several things about it. I had been looking at this picture myself for several months before I realized if you start drawing a pencil line right down here, follow that branch and follow this branch and come back over here and jump down to that little thing, you come all the way down here with a kind of a line in there that divides this side from that side. And once you've seen it, you'll never not see it when you see the picture. But I didn't see it for months, but it's there. Now, did I plan that? No, I didn't even know it happened. All right, down at the bottom, in this bottom third, it's a different thing from the rest of them. A lot of mesquite beans, and anybody that knows West Texas feels at home when they see all these mesquite beans. It's also quite dark, which makes it stand out, and that fits that golden mean for that. Now, let me tell you how I planned this picture. It was a beautiful day. It was a Sunday. Everything was green. I was finally rested because it was a Sunday, and I told my wife after lunch I'm going to go out with my camera because it's too good a day to stay in. She wasn't a photographer, so she didn't want to go. She wanted to sleep because she at that time was the principal of the school, and the week had been rough. So I go out and I'm taking pictures of this area, and I grew up in Big Spring, so these scenes of my childhood is what I was up to at the time. So I go out and I take a picture and a picture. I took about 15 pictures of the thing from various angles and came home, and she said, well, did you get anything good? I said, well, it's pretty good, I think. And I'm looking through them and in the computer, and she said, stop, go back. No, that one. I said, okay, fine. She said, look at that. She looked at that. She's not an artist, but she looked at that. She saw art, and she said, man, that's a good one. I said, yeah, I did. You know, I'd already passed it up. So I told her how then I managed to take that picture. There was a McDonald's sack and some of the bun, and I guess the meat had sunk down, but there's some lettuce and tomato floating around on the surface. And there was leaves and all kinds of trash, and the wind had kind of blown it way back over to one side, but it was so trashy. And all my pictures had all that trash in it. And I got back around here behind everything and got to where I couldn't get any trash, and I shot a picture. Now that is planning. That is artwork. The guy has to know what he's doing to get the trash out of the picture, right? And that's how the thing came about. So I don't take any credit for any artistic stuff here, but I dare you to show me something that's not artistic about the whole picture. It's amazing, but it's a gift. You know, it just happened. I don't mean a gift that I got. It just was given to me. So that's one of them, and then the other one, of course, I just kept going back when the snow was out or something to make that work. They won't all have that long of stories to them, but that one I thought might be worth it. This one just last month was, well, in January, was out in another one of the banks, and the assignment, we give ourselves an assignment every other month for the 9 months that we actually meet. We don't meet in summer, probably you don't either. Can't get anybody here, they're all taking pictures and painting. And our assignment was new beginnings. You know, January, new month, new year, new beginnings. So you go around for a while thinking, well, what can I do for the new beginnings? I went into Sears in the shopping mall over there and did my business with Sears, and I walked outside and I run into these 3 coming in. And I saw them and I said, bing! I said, excuse me, but I introduced myself and told them that I was in the association and that we had that, and could I get their picture? Okay, now you know what she said. I don't have my makeup on. I'm dressed in this old outfit. I said, get over there, would you? And then this was up on kind of a raised stand in the middle of things there, and a Christmas tree behind it, and I got him and shot the thing. Now, if you look at that real close, and I tell you that this baby had just come from the doctor and was really sick. You wouldn't know it, but you see it in her eyes a little bit that she wasn't feeling so good. But she looked so pretty as she came around there, and the young lady would be pretty to toe sack, and the young man is handsome. There they are, and it's Christmas time, and boom, and I got picture for New Beginnings. I'm just delighted with it. It was my pleasure to just give them free copies. And their baby came a little early, I guess, or the marriage is late or something. And when the marriage is consummated, then it will automatically inherit a complete, wonderful little family here. And grandmama was the one that took care of my business in Sears, and they brought the baby to the show and wrote the report off the doctor's office. Now every picture that you paint and every picture, photograph I take has a story to it, and some of these stories are more fascinating than the painting, and I think that may be true of that one. I did for a while, and I'll just pass this over quickly. I worked with a lady in Odessa she was a Mary Kay consultant, and they'd have their makeovers, and this is afterwards. You should have seen them before. I mean, they took off all their makeup, the hair was all flippered, and then so they make them up, and you come up with stuff like this. This lady was happy to tell me the beauty contest she had won when she was quite younger. I think she'd probably make a pretty good one right now. The fire chief's mother said, "Son, I don't have a good picture of you in your uniform." This was about a year and a half ago. And so I got the fire chief in Big Spring. His name is Brian Jenkins. Jensen.
Yeah.
Golly, Jensen. And he just retired, and we are missing a bunch at the city because of his retirement. But his family was Family of the Year with the Samaritan Counseling Center one year, and they've adopted 3 or 4 kids. Their story is another one, but his mama got a picture, and it was a good thing because now he doesn't wear that uniform anymore. I did the Fair Queens, I did the fair, and the country kids for 3 years running. 2010 we didn't have a fair. 2011 we just did, but I was off down Fort Worth doing something else, and nobody was their photographer this year. This one was not the queen. She was the second runner-up, but she was the prettiest one of the group, and so I keep her picture around instead of the other. That lady is really gorgeous, and she's in Howard College right now. But this picture's only one of many I would have brought for a van, you know, of the Fair Queens. And being male, I enjoyed that all this stuff very much. I think you'll understand. They probably don't. The lady here works for the credit union, Federal Teachers Credit Union, and all a number of things. I sold a pickup to her grandfather. She happens to live with her grandfather. We got acquainted well enough, and she was waited on me when I went in. You do know her,
Yeah,
Christine?
That's my bank. Yeah.
You know
She's your
her?
wife?
Really?
That's my bank over there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Mine too. I did their website, as a matter of fact. My wife died in 2008, but she was on their board for 20 years, so Janice Rawson, did you know her?
No.
Janice Rawson, okay. You just do banking over there. Well, Christina, now she's not teller. She's back to the back room. She's been promoted up. She's loan department clerk.
That's why I don't see her anymore, I guess.
Huh? Yeah.
She was always at the window.
She's been promoted up a notch. Got her own little cubicle in the back where she does no windows and anything else. She wants to get, she hasn't said so, but I think she'll want to go up another notch too, where she get out of that hole, but it's better than teller because it's a step up. Okay, so she said to me, "Would you take a picture of me and my boys?" Boys, you can. I said, "Christine, I'd love to." So we met out at a time when it wasn't summertime, the grass wasn't good. We went out to the golf course, and we're standing there to find a good background for it, and I got a picture of her boys. Now, pretty quick, I'd given her copies, and she had them in the teller cage. Well, not a cage anymore, but she's there. And then about 2 months later, one of those died. And so after that, it became, you know, a whole different deal. And there's more to our art than the art itself, you know, than the painting or the photography. It's life itself. So I keep that up where when I was sitting in my easy chair, I see that picture. I love the girl, and I love the picture and all that represents. Okay, that's the ones I have up here. And this one I brought it especially for Hollis. I'll show it to them first, because the women usually see this picture and they say, huh, and then they go on to another one. After all, this is a man thing, isn't it?
That's cool.
What do you see?
It's hard to get.
That's hard
Oh,
to
you
get it
got
to stop.
you
It's
do
hard
see
to
it.
get it to stop.
I'm about to knock
Wow.
the coffee over.
It's hard to get that exact.
That's right.
Loop right there.
That loop.
Okay, well, again, I need to take big amount of credit for it, because I did a website for the Howard County Youth Horsemen's Club. I have to go through all the lettering before I can get there. And during that time, I was out taking pictures. And one time I was out for this one, and I'm out in the dirt with them, not too close, and the calf turned loose, and here comes Justin Jenkins, and it is Jenkins this time, not Jensen, and he'd thrown that rope. And if you had a chance to, well, Hollis, I didn't even let you see it. That rope is touching that calf about this much, and that's all. The rest of it's just laying right out in that incredible, beautiful loop. And when this is out for show, the men will come around and talk about this one. You know, the women usually don't. But and now here's where I take the credit. I put it on fast and said, "Brrr!" And this one came out number 3 out of 5. And that takes planning. You got to have a special knack before you get anything happen, right? All right, let's see. The one I wanted to talk actually most about, so you think, oh my God, is this going to take all day? Let's see, I guess I'll just do it from here. You can see it, Hollis?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
I've looked at it already. Yeah.
The theme this time was barns, and there are no barns in here. But, you know, if you get close to what looks like a barn, people don't know the difference. And my Art Association friends accepted me okay. And I was on the way in 2010, Easter Sunday, going to Snyder because my nephew, his name is James Bond, had just gotten married, and his wife was going to be baptized at Colonial Hill Baptist Church over there that day, and I was driving over for it. And as I go out there, I just noticed these 2 houses in this little clump of trees. And I said, bing, and I pick up my Garmin and I say, mark this spot. And so they went on the way coming back when I would have time for it, and it turned out that the sun was in the best place. I came back and stopped, remembered it, and shot the picture of these 2 houses. Now the houses looked to me like they were built before the 1930s, just looking at the kind of structure it is, and the fact that it hadn't had any paint on it in 70 years. And so I got the picture. Now, so far we're talking about simply basically a picture, and that's all. Okay, so I could have simply printed the picture out and it would have been 2 houses, and you see that. But I want to do something else with it. Now, first let me tell you that some of you might have known Jimmy Anderson, who was a pharmacist in Big Spring for years and years and years. You may know that he got cancer, and it was looking pretty bad for him about 1.5 years ago. I talked to his partner yesterday, and he's moved to, well, I knew some of this, but yesterday I got a very good report. Jimmy not only has, recovered enough, they moved to Pecan Plantation down in Granbury, and he has started building these again, which means that, yeah, so he's coming along. I mean, that's really good news to me. Jimmy and I collaborated. He'd have $3 in this, and that's mostly those 3 things there, and a lot of time to do them. And I had this picture, and I can have it printed like this for 25 bucks. But so we didn't swap money. He gave me a frame, I give him a picture. So he sold about 10 for me, various things framed like this to his own crowd of people. And so I think that barn would. Just an excellent. Oh, you want to get a shot?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so then I go into Photoshop. Do any of you do editing in Photoshop or something? You do it. You do it. You do it. You do it. Most of you.
You do?
I'm sorry.
Do you use Photoshop?
Very little.
Really?
Yeah.
but that's some. All right.
Now, your photographs are all there, huh? Yours? No.
I don't
You don't treat them?
Well, those of you who do particularly will
I
understand.
just take
Hollis is a
my
good photographer.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll imagine.
No.
Um,
If I don't know anything about f-stops, how can you be a good photographer?
Oh,
most of the pictures I've shown you, I took.
you don't
before I
need that
learned
with
what
the new
f-stop
cameras.
was.
You know, it's all automatic, it does it for you. Wait.
That's why you have digital. Ching, ching, ching.
Well, and no, the fact is, there's a lot. What I will be showing you here in a little bit, I was really paying attention to f-stops this morning, and I'll explain that when I get.
What did you do in Photoshop? Did you layer that?
Okay, yeah. First thing, I went out in the front yard and took a picture of my St. Augustine grass. Because I didn't want just a plain background. I wanted something natural. And I wanted something green. And then I later realized that it wasn't going to work green. And it would be better to go to grayscale. And this is not quite just black, but it's, you know, you don't see much color in it at all. And that everything fit when I did that. The different kinds of greens and all that just fit when I went to grayscale. Now, I put my picture here, and I moved it down into the side. You remember the golden mean stuff? And then I beveled it, and you see that now that it's white edge up here and black here, which is automatic. The Photoshop just does that for you. I put this in as the background, and then I signed it this way, and then the title sometimes can make or break the picture if the title fits. Days gone by. That's what this picture says. That's the message behind it. And so I put that where it stood out, and yet it overlapped between this one, and so it ties that together. Each one of these principles is a principle that you use as you paint. But as we define those principles better, you do a little better job of painting because you're conscious of what you're doing instead of just accidentally doing it. Any questions about that? Okay, now this one, I take credit for this one because it wasn't an accident. Every part of it was intentional, so I'm proud of that. No questions, all right? That'll work. So, any questions about any of these so far, and we'll move on to that over there. No questions about that. What I meant, thank you, Hollis, you make yourself comfortable again, because I'll be moving over here. It might be an interruption for me to do this, but I meant to do it before we started. Before the meeting last week, I just went on looking for some quotes about art, and I came up with some things, and again, all I did was Google it, but there's some people whose names you'll know, most of them, have said some really good stuff about what we do as artists. And incidentally, I'm in art, and you're in art, you're in one kind, I'm another kind, and there's millions of other kinds. And literature is a form of art, as a matter of fact, music is a form of art. And so we're in the general category of art. George Bernard Shaw, who was, you all know, imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire. You will what you imagine, and at last you create what you will. That'll work to think about. Henry Ward Beecher, a preacher a couple hundred years ago, every artist dips his brush in his own soul and paints his own nature into his pictures. And I read this to the group the other night, and we had our pictures out for the tip of the brush, and I said, I don't know who painted what, but I think Estelle painted that one, and I think Bell painted that one, and I think Bruce took that photography, because their soul is in those pictures. It illustrated that fact. Scott Adams, I don't know him. Painter, probably. Never heard of him. He said, creativity is allowing yourself to make mistakes. Art is knowing which ones to keep. I've told you about some I kept mistakes. Well, they weren't mistakes, they were accidents. Pablo Picasso. You probably never heard of him. He's a fellow who lives out in Oklahoma. Painting is just another way of keeping a diary. And then Twyla Tharp, whose artwork you probably know, or paintings. Art is the only way to run away without leaving home. And William Faulkner, yes, is this in the best one? The aim of every artist is to arrest motion, which is life, by artificial means, and to hold it fixed so that 100 years later, when a stranger looks at it, it moves again, since it is life. What we're in here is worthwhile stuff. I'm happy we're in it. Let me talk about this part. F-stops.
Okay.
I went, sorry. Oh boy, let me get off and wash my throat out.
You need some water?
Yeah, that would help. I wish I could somehow or another get it where you could all see everything at one time, and since we can't, I'll just sort of tell you about it. But your eye looks out and sees whatever your eye sees, but your eye filters what you see. And you sort of see what you're looking for, and so you can take a photo, take it home and start looking at it, and you start seeing stuff you didn't see out there because
Like
you're in a different frame of mind. Huh?
Like something sticking out of their head. That's what
Yeah,
I have a
you-
hard time.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That would do it. So you do see all kinds of things that you didn't see otherwise. Well, cameras, now some of you said, well, just point and shoot, you know, get a good one, just point and shoot. Well, that'll work in the right kind of light, right kind of whatever, but there's more to it than that. And so what that camera is doing, the point and shoot, is automatically setting up how big is the hole that the light comes through, how long is it allowed to come through, and what impression is it to make on the recording. And I'm talking about digital photography. It also matches with film photography, but so we're really talking about the same thing. If I can get it right, Hollis, the size of the hole is the f-stop. The length that is there is the camera speed. The ISO is the film speed, or in this case, what are you allowing the back, how much are you allowing the recorder, the sensor, the screen, film, and the digital camera or the film, how sensitive is that? Now, in a film, you buy a 100 ISO, you buy 200 ISO, or you 400. Who's that? Are you wired down?
Not me.
No, it's just
Your purse is ringing.
While she's doing that, let me tell you about my experience 2-3 weeks ago. We had a symphony concert, and we had this incredible young pianist from China, and because we have been shut out of our fancy downtown auditorium because of somebody decided they needed a potty, and we had to do whatever we had to do to make sure they got a wheelchair or not. So ADA has shut us down for 2 or 3 years now. So we were meeting in the First United Methodist Church, and so we're in the same room with the orchestra. They're up here. We're all close. There's not much space here, and there's 200 or 300 people back here, and I'm sitting pretty close up in front. I used to be president of that association, and I would tell them to turn off their cell phone. And you know what happened that night? One person's cell phone rang, and you know whose it was? Yeah, you know whose it was. Bing! So I get it out. Well, I'm not good on this either.
Yeah.
These things are smarter than I am. So I managed to kill the call. I thought I'd turned it off. So in a minute, everybody's already looking at me like this. The guy behind me slapped me on the shoulder, you know, like, yeah, you crazy thing, and that guy's Jerry Worthy. Most of you probably know him. He's a good friend of mine. And then so it rings again. Let it go. So don't worry about it that you interrupted this. I was more embarrassed by far than you were here. Where we were, let's talk f-stop. The film speed, you know, 100, 200, up to 400 used to, and that's all we could get. And if you were in a dark place and you had 400 film, you could take pictures that you could not take with 100 film. Okay, I have a setting in the camera where I run that from 100 or 200 or 300 or up in my camera to 3200. And Bruce Scooter has one that goes 6400. I mean, it's incredible. So you go into a dark room and you take a picture and you can't see yourself, but the camera does. And it shows it to you. It's amazing.
What do you set on your camera?
How do you set it?
On your camera.
Well, in my particular camera, they're different.
Okay.
And some of the so-called point and shoots have some of these settings, you know. There's 4 little buttons. I've got this set just so, and
Okay.
I don't, it might not make any difference because I've already got pictures to take. There are 4 little buttons up here, and the one on the right says I think it says ISO. And that means film speed. I didn't know how it said it, but it's ISO.
Will it say ISO on there? Or?
Mine does, and
Yeah.
I think most of them would, because that's standard. Even films years ago, it's still ISO, International Standard something or other. And I just run the little thing back and forth, and it runs it all the way up and up. And I can do that just like this, you know, while I'm sitting here working. I can take a shot. Of course, I don't have to wait for it to develop, right? I take a shot, look at it. No, it needs to be faster because it's blurred. If I can make it faster, and then it's too dark. Well, I still want it fast, so I set the f-stop down to 2.8's the lowest number, but the lowest number of an f-stop is the largest hole. You just have to remember to think backward, and the explanation for that I forgot. I don't know how they come to that, but
And that's what you want in a dark situation?
yeah, you want a high number. Excuse me. You want a high number on the ISO, and you want a low number on the aperture opening or f-stop.
Okay.
And there's going to be a combination that's best. You know, sometimes you want it to be slow and let a lot of light in. Sometimes it's like this horse running out across there, and you want it to bam just like that. Of course, that was automatic, and it was in the sunlight, so you could do it. I couldn't do that in a dark room. You know, it just would be black. So those combination of those 3 different things: the size of the hole, the sensitivity of the plate, and the speed, how long it leaves the hole open. And did you ever hear anything simpler than that? I'll take credit for that one this morning. That wasn't but I'm not kidding you. I walked into the library one day and checked out a book, and I started out, and Vera Heyer, I think her name was on the desk up front, and she said, "Lane," said, "there's somebody downstairs that," no, she said, "tonight they're going to have a meeting you might be interested in." And I said, "What's that?" "Well, it's the Art Association." I said, "Oh." And she said, "There's a guy down there now, D.W. Oberman, I'll bet you some of you will know what D.W. He's down there now setting up." So I go down and I introduced myself to him, and he was going to be bringing something like what I'm doing here that night. And so I went, and I took that spring picture, and they put me out in their #1 spot and invited me to join, and I've been there ever since. That was a pretty good story, but I forgot why I was telling it. Mine last month quit working, and I checked, and it's out of warranty, and I can't afford to get it fixed. So here I am with that. Okay. So in order to take a picture of a painting and make it work,